Hello dear viewer and welcome back to All for Shiny. I can't believe it, we completed all planets in the previous episodes. Before transitioning into Megabase territory, we have to fly to the solar system edge to farm Promethium science packs. But before we can do that, I have to produce more energy here on Akilo, because this isn't going to cut it. On Norvis I have quite a lot of cryogenic science packs, and rocket part productivity is already at level 3. Nevertheless, another level is so important to make rocket launches cheaper. The biolabs aren't fast enough for the incoming quantity of science packs. By copy-pasting 2 of these rows, I can increase research by 50%, potentially. With more and more research productivity, the importance of using productivity modules will decline. Honestly, I can't wait to get rid of them, because of the substantial pollution penalty. That's also why I'm using so many beacons with efficiency modules. Okay, Akilo and its electricity production problem. To solve it, I want to utilize fusion power, which requires the production of quantum processors. Some players might find it annoying to build on Akilo, but I personally love it. To be fair, the bot network is doing most of the work. I'm also using logistic bots to supply the EAM plants. The throughput required isn't that high. Moving on, I will use 2 cryogenic plants to produce fusion power cells. They are kind of cheap, you only need 1 holmium plate and 5 lithium plates for 1 cell. I will produce fusion reactors and generators close to the cargo landing pad. This way bots don't have to fly large distances to supply the cryogenic plants with tungsten plates and superconductors. It's kind of unbelievable that I'm at mining productivity 45 already. Meanwhile on Gleba I noticed a common problem. I'm not storing enough carbon fiber to fill a rocket. The rocket capacity is 500, so let's bump up the numbers to 1000. Okay, this should be working again. I also realized that my Akilo spaceship doesn't have to go to Gleba all the time. For carbon fiber I can easily use an interrupt instead of having Gleba in the permanent schedule. The same thing for the Volcanoes items, using an interrupt for tungsten plates and tungsten carbide. I'm using rate calculator to check the quantum processor production speed. I think a single fusion reactor will already be enough for my Akilo base. That's 1 reactor and 2 generators for 100 megawatts. Small, simple and beautiful. To kickstart fusion reactors I need fluoroctone. Let's barrel the liquid I need it for my spaceships soon. Thanks Whoop for parameterized blueprints. In this case I'm using the mall blueprint to make barrels. Okay, here we go, let's kickstart the reactor. I like to add some lamps for aesthetic reasons. And just like that, 100 additional megawatts of electricity. For now, the Akilo base is feature complete. Research levels are also where I want them to be. That's the rocket part productivity level 6. The Norvis base doesn't need much maintenance because of the high productivity of foundries and electromagnetic plants. Plus the mining productivity, of course. I can't find problems on any planet, so let's open the next chapter of this playthrough, which is to make a Promethium science ship. First, a space platform starter pack and foundations. Volcanoes really is the best planet to make new ships, because steel and copper for thousands of platform foundations is free. Strider Promethium will be the name of the ship to make it to the solar system edge and beyond. Volcanoes' orbit has asteroids. By launching repair packs, we can make sure that no items will be destroyed. Nevertheless, this temporary setup produces ammo to defend the platform. One thing is for sure, this platform needs railguns, so let's set up production on a kilo. And this blueprint will be the platform I want to build. First, I'm outlining the approximate size of the platform. I'm waiting for a proper amount of foundations before expanding and setting up gun turrets for defense. I shipped fusion reactors and generators from Akilo to volcanoes, then sending them into orbit. It's obviously the best endgame energy source. Amazing, let's continue building the platform. I try to copy the row of railguns and asteroid collectors first. And then finally the rest of the platform. You can get this blueprint and all save games on my Patreon page. The one thing I don't like about Space Age is the orbital mechanics, especially when building platforms. You can automatically only launch one item at a time and only full rockets. I'm using a requester chest and a cable to read orbital requests, then inserting the items half manually. I want to send this platform on a test flight to Norvis very soon. The goal is to pick up more asteroids and resources and fill all the belts on the platform. Railguns have a rocket capacity of 1, which is why I want to pick them up in Akilo's orbit. But to reach Akilo I need at least a handful of railguns. I use Strider Akilo to transport them to volcanoes and back into orbit. That's 10 railguns already. Let's start the test flight to Norvis. And off we go to Gleba and then Akilo. I can see a lot of railgun ammo on the belt, so the journey should be possible. We reached Akilo orbit, but to continue further, we have to build all of the missing railguns. My Strider Promethium blueprint requires rare assemblers, but I don't have them yet, which means I can't reach the required amount of railgun and piercing rounds ammo production. I'm pretty sure that I will make it to the solar system edge, but beyond I have to keep an eye on my ammo belts. There are 2 types of Promethium ships. This one will collect Promethium and then return to Norvis, crafting the science packs in Norvis orbit. This way I don't have to deal with the 30-minute spoil time of Berax. We made it to the solar system edge, the official win condition of Factorio. But I won't stop until my base maintains a research of 1 million signs per minute. We are now traveling towards the Shatter planet, farming Promethium chunks. I'm storing them with a decently large buffer made out of turbo transport belts. I just gave the order to return to Akilo, even though my Promethium storage isn't full. Ammo production and consumption doesn't align, I have a bottleneck. Because of the low quantity of piercing rounds ammo on the belt, I even have to use paused thrust to stop the spaceship, else I will probably suffer substantial damage. Notice that this design doesn't rely on rocket launchers. Railguns crack the huge and big asteroids, while gun turrets deal with medium and small asteroids. We are back in Akilo's orbit, stockpiling quantum processors, which are required for the Promethium science pack. Back on Norvis, we now have to set up the Berax production for this platform. First of all, I want to utilize a dedicated rocket silo. Second, we produce captive biter spawners. They can be placed anywhere. For example, directly adjacent to the rocket silo. Berax don't spoil, as long as they are still inside the biter spawner. That's why direct insertion into the rocket silo is the most convenient way to produce them. Once Berax arrive on the platform, they will be immediately processed into science packs. Using circuit logic and recyclers, I remove excess eggs when there are no Promethium chunks left. I also read orbital requests and remove leftover Berax from the rocket silo. To transport Promethium science to my biolabs, I still have 2 tiles of space to remove them from the cargo landing pad. This will be our first level of research productivity. Later on I have to use more captive biter spawners to make this process faster. There we go, 10% more research productivity. Even though my Promethium buffer wasn't full, I'm sure that I can research another level. Before starting the next journey to the Shattered Planet, I have to replace my assembling machines. I have to use rare ones to produce enough piercing rounds and railgun ammo. Okay, let's go, let's start the next journey. I'm not really making quality items yet, and I'm also only utilizing 3 thrusters. But that's fine, there are so many powerful technologies you can research, I don't have to worry about Promethium science throughput at this point. I wasn't able to keep up with cutting and editing these episodes over the last couple of weeks. And since the base doesn't need any maintenance at this point, I can just let the game run in the background and get important research done. That's research productivity level 3, and this will be level 4. Productivity from research now exceeds the bonus productivity from modules. Adding another captive biter spawner speeds up the round trip time of my spaceship slightly. Finally, it's time to engage with the quality mechanic in Factorio. This will be a mobile space platform, upcycling asteroids to get legendary quality. I haven't even researched epic quality yet. I will straight up skip all quality levels and upgrade to legendary immediately. I already made a blueprint for this platform, but first of all I have to defend it against asteroids. This time I want to use lasers. But you will immediately see why gun turrets are so much better. Nevertheless, let's keep building the platform, and here is my blueprint for this mobile quality upcycling spaceship. It also relies on fusion power, and in order to maximize asteroid farming, it will go from Volcanoes to Gleba and back again. The reactors can be started with fluorocatone barrels from Aquilo. Of course, I also have to supply the spaceship with fusion power cells. At this point, the lasers will have more than enough power to deal with the incoming asteroids. Alright, let's start building the entire thing. I'm still kind of short on foundations, but it's not a big deal at all. I will just create a hole in the middle and build the most important laser turrets first. Alright, the platform is nearly done. A couple of belts and crushers are still missing. It's actually very easy, just reprocess asteroids until they reach legendary quality. I will start with normal quality modules, providing 2.5 quality each. In the meantime on Norvis I reach research productivity level 10. That's plus 100% bonus productivity. Absolutely crazy and amazing. Let's start collecting asteroids to get legendary resources. With only 5% quality per crusher, upcycling isn't very efficient, because there's always a chance to lose the asteroid entirely. That's why making quality superconductors is crucial. I will use quality modules and try to crit craft them. Even though EM plants have 5 module slots, getting a legendary outcome is very unlikely. That's why I also set up recyclers with quality modules. Superconductors recycle into themselves. I want to use the very low chance to recycle into legendary quality. On Volcanoes I prepare the smelting and processing of legendary items. The incoming iron, copper, coal and calcite is already legendary. That's why I'm using productivity modules wherever possible. Cryogenic plants can turn legendary coal into legendary plastic. There's research for bonus plastic productivity and 8 module slots. Very efficient. To get more legendary resources, I have to produce legendary quality modules. And because legendary superconductors are the bottleneck, I can already set up the production of other very useful legendary items. In this case, legendary assemblers. Because of the very high plastic productivity, it makes sense to utilize the foundry to turn legendary plastic into legendary copper and steel. This is possible with a casting low density structure recipe, plus recycling. And in case you're wondering how I make legendary stone, I farm legendary calcite in space. The foundry can then turn lava and legendary calcite into legendary stone and molten copper. Okay, I crafted the first legendary quality modules. I'm using them on Fulgora first to make more legendary superconductors. With more legendary superconductors I can make more legendary quality modules. And after some time I'm at maximum bonus quality here on Fulgora. Which means I can then start upgrading the quality upcycling space platform with quality modules. That's 12.4 quality for each crusher. Asteroid reprocessing with quality modules is completely overpowered and clearly the best way to get basic legendary items. With a setup like this, you can basically produce an unlimited amount of very important items, like assemblers, beacons, chemical plants, furnaces, substations and refineries. The Strider cargo spaceship then will pick up all of these items from volcanoes and transport them to the other planets. I also replaced some of the most important items on the spaceship itself with legendary quality. For example, cargo bays for more storage space, chemical plants, assemblers and furnaces. On Norvis, these items come in handy to increase production speed heavily. Especially the legendary beacons and assemblers are insanely fast. The pollution cloud is well under control, and even at this point I'm still mining on starting area ore patches. Mining productivity is at level 60, which means plus 600% productivity. Research productivity is already at level 18, without using productivity modules. That's plus 180% research productivity. The base researches at 4000 signs per minute, when switching between different types of research. The next episodes will be all about transitioning into Megabase territory, which means bumping up the signs per minute number. To get there, I also have to find creative ways to get special planetary resources in legendary quality, like legendary holmium, Berax and tungsten. Oh, and legendary production on Gleba, of course. Subscribe to not miss the next episode. Thanks for watching, bye!